Let's go. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Buckeye Blitz podcast. I'm your host, Chad Stryker. Sorry, I'm a little bit later than normal today, recording this on my lunch. I hope you guys are having a great week so far. It is Tuesday, so that just means we are another day closer to summer football in June and June camp with Ohio State. So thank you for listening today. I know you have a lot of choices for Buckeye football content and Buckeye football podcasts and videocasts. So I actually think, even since I started in January, there's some new ones. So it seems like there's a new one popping up every day. So I do appreciate your continued listenership and viewership. That's awesome. And I know that it's taking time out of your day to listen and to comment and to add questions. So thank you for continuing to do this. I do this for fun. I don't get paid to do it. So if you guys keep listening, I'll keep doing it. If you wouldn't mind, as part of that, it's free for you. It's easy to do. Hit the like button so that we continue to surface towards the top on YouTube with Buckeye football related content. That would be great. It means a lot to me, and it's very helpful. So, as I mentioned, it's May 16th. We're halfway through May already. I can't believe it, but we're inching closer to June camp. And also, congratulations to all of those Buckeye graduates across the board for whatever you decided to major in. Congratulations. Today I thought I'd take a little time and answer a few more questions. I did have two actually that got resubmitted that I thought I answered sort of. So I'm just going to address those directly, and a few other news and notes today. So firstly, if you didn't catch it, I posted it on our Facebook page. So our Facebook page is _Buckeye Blitz podcast. Ohio State has announced 2 game times for the upcoming season already. One, no one should be shocked by. The other one, if you were a fan of the 2015 Buckeye football team, you might have a little bit of be a little concerned, I guess. But nevertheless, I think that was a 3:30 game. But the Buckeyes will take on Michigan State in the shoe under the lights at 7:30 on November 11th on NBC. And you can bet it's going to either be a scarlet out or a blackout. I'm hoping for the blackout. I like the black alternate jerseys. You can kind of see one up here. That's a Zeke one, but I do like the black alternate jerseys. I think it's cool. I know it's not really Ohio State colors. I know we're scarlet and gray, and I prefer the gray sleeves and the red jerseys that we wore in the playoffs this year, but nonetheless, the blackouts are pretty cool. Then, as you might have guessed, on Saturday, November 25th at noon on Fox, The Game in Ann Arbor. Time for a little Jim Tressel talk, folks. You'll be proud of our young people in the classroom, in the community, and most importantly, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, that Saturday. So, we'll go with that. My radio voice. So, now for a little Q&A Tuesday questions. Thanks for submitting them. Keep them coming. Love to answer them. This one comes at me via Twitter, actually. So first DM for Twitter for a question for my podcast from Play That Buckeye Swag Song, I believe is what it is. And he says, I see Jeremiah Smith taking visits to Florida, talking about Dylan Raiola, committing to Georgia, and so on. Should we be worried about this? He doesn't seem to be as vocal recruiting either, or out front recruiting either. So I'm going to answer this, the best way I can. Again, recruiting is its own bit. There was a great article, I believe it was from the Cleveland Plain Dealer, Doug Lee Maurice maybe, and Tony Gerdeman may have retweeted it about this. But in short, about Jeremiah Smith, no. My confidence meter with Jeremiah Smith is at a 99.9%. I know we've lost a few Florida guys. I know we lost a running back last year, and Raheem Jarrett comes to mind when we talk about wide receivers. But, obviously he was being recruited by Zach Smith. He was not being recruited by Brian Hartline. And you can never count out some of the teams in the South when it comes to recruiting in Florida. And Florida is a difficult place to recruit in, but when it comes to this, I'm going to go 99.9 out of 100. I leave a little room there for error because it is Florida. So if it, that's why it's not at 100. That said, Smith has 2 visits scheduled to come to Ohio State this summer. He said in the article, he's locked in because he wants to work with Coach Hart and Coach Day. And to summarize basically everything he said, the only way that changes is if one or both of them are gone, before signing day in December, which, barring something catastrophic, I don't see happening. So he's pretty locked in. I'm not really that worried about it. And the fact of the matter is, Jeremiah Smith is really, really good. No doubt about it. And like I've said, I think he is Calvin Johnson-esque. But they just signed Mylan Graham too. So when it comes to quarterbacks and wide receivers at Ohio State, I don't worry about it too much. As far as recruiting goes, I think that those kids want to come play for Ryan Day and Brian Hartline and this offense, and that continues to crank out top draft picks. And until there is a time that I feel like we're not meeting that pedigree, and I need to be worried about that, and we don't have that lineage, okay, then I would worry a little bit. I think some of the, trepidation is coming from maybe some of the ones that we've lost in the running back room. Bijan Robinson from Texas, and I was trying to remember the kid from Florida last year that decommitted. But again, recruiting is its own animal, and running back, obviously I kind of get, because since J.K. Dobbins hit that 2,000 yard mark, we'll see. But I'm really highly confident, honestly, in Jeremiah Smith coming to and signing in Columbus. Please don't worry about that. Of all the things to worry about, that wouldn't be one of them. And lastly, I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. Don't be a jerk and tweet at these kids. They're 18-year-old kids. They're having a moment. They're having fun. They're enjoying it. If I had that kind of talent, I would too. Don't tweet at these kids. Don't be the reason they don't come to a university because some wild fan decided to call them a butthead and because they talked about some other university. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. They're kids. We were kids too, and I did a lot of stupid stuff. So. All right, the next one came to us through our website, and if you didn't know, we have a website. It's thebuckeyeblitz.godaddysites.com. It has a little bit of my story and why I'm doing what I'm doing, around the passing of my dad, and how I basically just realized that if you got an opportunity to do something, do it. So I typically throw up some of our more recent podcasts on the site, and I try to keep up to date about what's coming up. So a lot of what I have on there right now is about the spring, and then we'll rotate into the summer and fall, and I'll have the schedule up there as well. So the question says, I listened to your spring recap, and I was curious what you honestly think of the defense now that they've added transfer portal people like Tywon Malone, Jahad Carter, Davison Igbinosun, and even most recently Lorenzo Styles. Can they be, and in quotes, good enough? I have a lot to say on this topic. I'll take it in chunks. I kind of thought I addressed this, in my recap, but I'll add to it, I think, is what I'll do. So, firstly, I think the transfer portal additions were critical needs, in my opinion. They filled glaring holes in the defense that existed because of the turnover, at least in my belief, the turnover in the coaching rooms, basically since Urban's days. And we are now officially into year 5 of Coach Day. But we are only in year 2 of Jim Knowles, so some of that recruiting, and just like the offensive line with Greg Studwara, the end of the Greg Studwara era, we were feeling that loss. So that's kind of where that comes from, in the turnover. So I feel like we should start to turn the corner with the consistency, but it is what it is as far as that goes, as far as what was on the team then. I touched on that after the draft, that no player was taken before the third round for an Ohio State defense, and that told me everything I needed to know about the players that were on the field and what the NFL evaluators thought of the Buckeyes defensive players who were eligible to be drafted. It's no slight to the kids. I'm just saying that elite talent and elite players get drafted high in the NFL draft. That's not there are the Tom Brady's of the world, Terry McLaurin, some of these guys that got drafted a little later that are tearing it up in the league. But that's those are fewer than not, I guess. So I talked kind of ad nauseum about this in a recent podcast too. The fact that it really bothered me how much Jerron Cage and Teron Vincent played, and I'm starting to learn more and more as the news kind of has come out that Mike Hall was a little more banged up than they let on, and Tyleik Williams probably wasn't in the kind of football shape that he needed to be. But those guys, gosh, if they could play, they should have been playing. It's infuriating to me, and I expect that the more Tyleik was on the field, probably the better he would have played, because the better conditioning he would have been in. But that's an rant for another day, I suppose. But so that said, I think that Ryan Day and Jim Knowles and obviously the addition of James Laurinaitis is huge, are doing everything they can to get this defense back to BIA, back to being the Rushman, and putting the pressure on the opposing offenses to the point where when we score, the other offense doesn't really want to be on the field. That because I can remember teams that were if our offense wasn't clicking that day, we would purposefully punt and put our defense back on the field, because we knew that eventually Malik Hooker or somebody was going to make a big play and get a pick six. And there was one season where they had 6 pick sixes. It was ridiculous, and that set our offense up, and then we get the momentum going. And that's what I want to see out of this defense this year, is helping our offense by and not be. Last year I felt like it was reversed. We would score so quick, and then we'd have to cross our fingers and our toes and everything else that the defense got to stop. And so that I think that's part of the reason why we felt gosh, we have to average 45 points a game. So if the defense is back up to snuff, and can hold opposing offenses to an average, and I'm saying an average, of under 24 points per game, we're going to win a lot of football games. Because I think our offense will probably average somewhere around 41. I don't think it's going to be as high as last year, but just that fact will help. If they just have to be better than they were last year, in my opinion. So, and I think a lot of people's opinion. That said, I honestly believe they're going to be improved. They're going to be better. The talent is better. They went out and basically just went shopping for whatever they needed in the transfer portal. But you're not going to know when you're playing Western Kentucky or Rutgers. You're not going to know until you're playing Penn State and Michigan at the end of the year. They'll have to prove it, and they'll have to prove it in top 5 matchups and not giving up 70-yard runs like they're free balloons at a fair. They have to prove it. They have to play gap sound, they have to play smart football, and they have to not give up the big play. I do have concerns about the depth at defensive back a little bit, but not nearly as much as last year. I like Burke and Hancock, Igbinosun and Jair Brown, now Lorenzo Styles and some of the other kids they have, Jermaine Matthews, etc. They have, I think, 7 scholarship corners, which is a big step above what they had, one more than they had last year, technically, but the talent, I think, is significantly better. We were counting on Cameron Brown to be something that he had never been at Ohio State, and that was healthy, and so there was a lot that happened there, but I do think they are better, they are deeper, they are more talented, and they are in year 2 of Jim Knowles' system, and they have one thing that they didn't have last year, and that's James Laurinaitis, who knows how to beat Michigan and knows how to play linebacker. So, the last thing, and gosh, this question, do I actually believe Ryan Day is on the hot seat given the 2 losses to that team up north? No. He would have to go 7-5 to be on the hot seat. So let me tell you why. Firstly, Ohio State is built to win a national championship, and if they get in in a neutral site in a a controlled environment, they can beat anybody. Period. The game's in Ann Arbor this year. I do think Ohio State is going to win. It's going to be close, but Ohio State's going to win. They're going to find a way to get it done, just like they did against Clemson in 2019 or 2020, just like they did, and I think that if they get another shot at Georgia, they're going to smack Georgia in the mouth. That said, I think if Ryan Day wants to leave, it'll be on his own volition to the NFL, probably whenever they're ready to have Brian Hartline be the heir apparent at head coach. I would say that's probably 3 or 4 years away still. I understand where people come from with this question, and I think this is in response to what I had said in my last podcast on Friday, that I would rather win a national championship and not win the Big Ten than beat Michigan, win the Big Ten, and then lose in the national championship game because you're banged up from the rigor of the season. So you get a opportunity to be at home and rest for a month by not playing in the Big Ten championship game. Oh, and by the way, next year we go to the expanded playoff format. So Ohio State, if they go 9-0 in the first 10 games or 9 games, they're probably going to be in the top 12 anyway. So they're going to be in the playoffs. So they're going to have a shot. I don't like Michigan. I don't like their fans. They bother me. They chirp a lot. They act like they've won 7 in a row like we did twice in the last 20 years. They haven't. They've won the last 2. And if you look at last year, it was a lot closer than what people would have you believe. I still say if Ohio State, midway through that second quarter when they were up 20-17, if they had scored when they botched the fake punt, they ran away with that football game. However, can't rewrite history. That's not where we are. But no, Ryan Day is not on the hot seat. I know that I get mad, and I kind of called him John Cooper Jr. when we lost last year, and we all have our things. We all have emotions. Fan is short for fanatic. I always tell people that. So, for what that's worth. And my last little thing is my shot across the bow. Congratulations to Aaron Noland, the Ohio State Buckeye commit for quarterback of the 2024 class, who got invited to the Elite 11 when competing against Jaden Davis of Michigan. So, Ohio State and Ryan Day strike again. Congratulations, young man. Ball out at the Elite 11. I hope you put on a show and prove to everybody that you should probably be the number 1 or 2, probably the number 1 quarterback in this class, not Dylan Raiola, not Jaden Davis, and a lot of these other kids. Excited to have you in Columbus. Go do it, young man. That's it for me today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I'll see you for Buckeye Friday. Don't forget, watch our Facebook page as more announcements come out about tickets, about game times, about opponent times, and what channel to be on, etc. And as we ramp up for June camp. So thank you for listening. I'll talk to you later. See ya. Go Bucks.